You know what they say? God created the snake before the lawyers. Why? Because he needed the practice. Hello, and welcome back to Rodi Underworld. I'm your host, Rodi, and after a long, agonizing wait, we're finally diving deep into the mind of the man, the myth, the legend, Saul Goodman. And yeah, I'm here to tell you that he was actually right. Think about it. He's not just a lawyer involved in crime. He's the crime itself, embodied in a cheap suit. He was the firewall between the law and major league criminals. From petty crooks all the way up to the Salamanca's Gustavo F. Fring and even Walter White. He brokered prostitution deals in the courthouse, ran countless scams, threats, and dirty tricks. He even caused the ruin and, ultimately, the death of rivals like Howard Hamlin. Yet, I'm sticking to my guns. Saul Goodman was justified. If you're ready for this breakdown, smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed to Rodi Underworld so you don't miss the next deep dive. Now, let's break down exactly why. Part 1. Slippin Jimmy, the lamb who became a wolf. The descent of Jimmy McGill into the dark side of justice didn't start with a legal brief. It started in his childhood. Little Jimmy watched, helplessly, as con artists fleeced his naive, good-hearted father, the man who poured his life savings into a small general store. Jimmy tried to warn him again and again, but his dad just accused him of cynicism and lectured him with constant, sanctimonious morality. This naivety became a trauma for young Jimmy, he realized. The world was divided into two kinds of people, wolves and lambs. His father, the man who should have been his rock, was a lamb, constantly getting fleeced and masking his weakness with a false sense of moral superiority. As the family bank account dwindled while Chuck was away at college, Jimmy's pity for his father curdled into fury. He started to despise the moral signaling. The solution? He started stealing from the cash register. In short, Slippin Jimmy was born from the trauma of his father's weakness. He decided he wouldn't be a sheep, he would be a wolf. When his father inevitably went broke, Chuck reviewed the accounts and discovered Jimmy had skimmed $14,000 over the years. Chuck instantly cataloged Jimmy as a criminal, a thief, an object of scorn and never forgave him. But here's the crucial point Chuck missed. If Jimmy hadn't taken that $14,000, his dad would have just lost it to another scammer anyway. Legally, half the store's inheritance was Jimmy's right. He was simply taking what was rightfully his. Soon after, their dad died of a stress-induced heart attack. And Chuck the good son immediately blamed Jimmy and focused on his own soaring legal career. Jimmy, now Slippin Jimmy, partnered with Marco and made a living running small cons. But here's the twist. You can't call their games theft. They only ever targeted people who were trying to rip them off. Remember the fake Rolex scam? If stealing a wallet from a passed-out guy isn't immoral, then tricking the would-be thief with a fake Rolex and taking all their cash is hardly a sin. However, Slippin Jimmy finally crossed a line. Drunk, he and Marco defiled an enemy's car while the man's children were inside. That was Jimmy McGill's biggest and arguably only true mistake. Facing serious charges, including child endangerment, he was facing hard time. Chuck, at their mother's desperate plea, bailed him out on one condition: get a real job at Chuck's firm and make a clean start. Grateful, Jimmy hung up his Slippin shoes and stepped onto the white path of the law. He was ready to build an honest career by the book. Part 2. Jimmy McGill, the roadblock. Jimmy McGill finally got his white-collar start, slaving away for years in the mailroom for minimum wage, all thanks to his brother. He met Kim Wexler there, and through correspondence courses at a shady law school. He passed the bar exam, but when he went to tell Chuck the good news, he was met with crushing disappointment. Chuck didn't trust Jimmy. He wanted his younger brother to stay beneath him, forever a glorified copy guy. To Chuck, a lawyer like Jimmy was like a machine gun in the hands of a monkey. He dismissed his diploma and decided Jimmy would never be part of the elite, accepted system. To Chuck, Jimmy was an amoral, pathetic con artist who needed to pay for that $14,000 theft by groveling. In the mailroom for the rest of his life, Chuck started sabotaging him at every turn. He used the partners as an excuse not to hire him. Jimmy quit and took a huge risk, starting his own firm in a tiny, moldy office behind a nail salon. He worked tirelessly, trying to stay on the straight and narrow, following all the rules to prove to his brother and the HHM partners that he was worthy of a job alongside the woman he loved, Kim Wexler. He tried public defense for years. No real clients called. People mocked him. No one believed he was a real lawyer. Chuck even tried to stop him from using the McGill name. Chuck saw Jimmy practicing law as a personal insult. But his time as a public defender was valuable. Jimmy learned the nature of crime and the criminal psyche better than anyone. He pivoted to elder law, running simple but brilliant commercials that won the sympathy of the elderly. His first serious clients were the residents of a nursing home. And that's where he built his first multi-million-dollar case to Sandpiper lawsuit from trash. He literally dug through garbage to piece together shredded documents. Jimmy was on fire. His luck had finally turned. He ran straight to Chuck, his older brother, for guidance. But instead of a happy Hollywood ending, Chuck saw the gold in the case, manipulated Jimmy's trust and affection, and took the lawsuit away from him. Handing it over to HHM, he tossed Jimmy a $20,000 bone instead of giving him the job he deserved. Jimmy eventually got a job at a big firm, Davis & Main, to spite Chuck and HHM, but he still couldn't do it. In Season 2, he runs a fantastic commercial to gather elderly clients, but his bosses suffering from an inferiority complex get scared of his success. The irony. They copy the exact same commercial after he quits. And every time Jimmy succeeded, Chuck retaliated by punishing Kim Wexler through Howard. Jimmy wins a big case. Kim gets sent back to the copy room. Jimmy helps Kim avoid being fired from the Kettleman case. Chuck punishes Kim. Jimmy gets hired at Davis & Main. Chuck punishes Kim and sends her back to the copy room. After resigning from Davis & Main, the transformation to Saul Goodman began. He went back to simple criminal cases, but this time, he didn't wait for criminals to come to him. He went straight to the low-income neighborhoods and advertised. He even handed out free cell phones so criminals could reach him easily. This way, Jimmy would gain a high volume of small cases, exploit legal loopholes in the ghettos where big firms wouldn't tread, and build a career score with quick results. This strategy was a success. He even convinced Kim Wexler to go into independent practice, shielding her from Chuck's attacks. But Chuck didn't quit. While chatting with Jimmy, he slyly got him to confess to using loopholes, recording the admission on tape. He then trapped Jimmy, provoking him into assaulting him, and got him arrested. He set a devastating trap with Howard's help. And here's the most disgusting part. Despite Chuck's mental illness, Jimmy had always looked out for him, buying him everything down to toilet paper. He relentlessly served the brother who refused to hire him, constantly scorned him, stole his case, and punished the woman he loved. This trap was Jimmy's breaking point. In the resulting court case, Jimmy stopped defending himself. He went on the offense and won, exposing Chuck's mental illness in court and ending his legal career. When you play with a man's honor, his love, and his livelihood, it's completely normal for a devil like this to emerge. Realizing he had no other option but to attack, Jimmy McGill, with his wife Kim Wexler, began a campaign to systematically destroy his rivals. Addressing the haters, wait, Chuck killed himself because of Jimmy. He was an opportunistic psycho. My friends, if you seek revenge on someone, you must dig to graves, especially if you cross a man like Jimmy. Chuck went to war with his brother and he lost. Chuck was a hypocritical sociopath, constantly moralizing like his father, yet secretly recording his brother and setting him up. He was a pretentious snob who couldn't handle simple jokes about his profession and looked down on everyone. That's why his own wife left him. Part 3, Saul Goodman, the Devil's Pragmatism. The name Saul Goodman is a play on the phrase, "It's all good, man." By adopting this name, Jimmy constantly signaled to himself and his clients that he was an unbeatable, pragmatic, problem-solving lawyer. Saul Goodman is the sum of Slippin Jimmy's cunning and Jimmy McGill's survival instinct. Professionally, he's not just a lawyer involved in crime, he is a criminal lawyer. He doesn't just act as a firewall, taking the money and walking away. If there's profit to be made, he gets involved in the crime and gets his hands dirty. Morally, calling him the devil's advocate is wrong. He's a devil who practices law. So, is Saul Goodman a bad guy? No. He's a good man who simply stopped being good because of what happened to him. The difference between him and a hypocrite like Chuck is this. Chuck saw the law as sacred and justice as a passion. Saul saw the law as cold, hard logic detached from passion. As I've explained in my Devil's Advocate video, to be a successful lawyer, you have to defend not only the innocent, but also the guilty, because the real money is with the criminals. If you make money by solving problems, you constantly need people with problems. This may sound morally bankrupt to many, but those who invented the legal profession understood this perfectly. Crucially, even Saul Goodman has his red lines. You never see Saul defending a rapist, and he delivers on everything his clients ask for. Lalo Salamanca tasked him with gathering $7 million in bail money. Saul found the money, got into a shootout, risked his life, and walked across the desert with $7 million on his back to pay his client's bail. He could have just disappeared and claimed he died. In the Kettleman case, he got his hands on $1.5 million in unregistered cash. But he still turned the money over to the court. When it comes to professional ethics, he's very much like Mike Mentrot. They are totally different people, but when it's about business, they become a great duo. They get the agreed-upon money and aren't afraid to take the initiative to protect their clients. This ability to take initiative makes Saul Goodman the most reliable lawyer in the Breaking Bad universe. Remember what he did to protect the elderly man who didn't want to lose his property? He created a fake radioactive zone around the house and blackmailed the company trying to tear it down. Saul Goodman is the sharp stick under the foot of the giants who crush the ants. He's the hunter who saves the frightened girl from the wolf. And he's a humanist. If you're elderly and alone, you should go to him for your will. He cares about your porcelain doll collection. He gives you ideas for compensation, checks if your nursing home is safe, and joins you for bingo. If you're a cartel member, you should go to Saul Goodman. He carries $7 million for you in the desert and destroys your bullet-riddled car. If you're a prostitute, you should go to Saul Goodman. He tells you which corner to work. Saul Goodman supports entrepreneurship, hiring film students to shoot his fantastic commercials. He is the dynamo of the city's economy. Without him, money laundering can't smoothly enter the system. The elderly are unsafe. Crime spirals out of control. All the gangs would be fighting each other, leaving the gray area. Without him to skirt the laws, corruption and dirty cops would explode. Saul Goodman is a necessary counterbalance to the system. From the moment he fully became Jimmy McGill, every door opened for him. Even Howard, who constantly scorned him, begged him to join the firm and take Chuck's place. So, if he was so successful, why did he get caught? His capture wasn't about his own mistakes. It was about the collapse of Walter White's criminal empire and the errors of the people around Walter. Realizing the net was closing, Saul disappeared with a fake identity. But contact with his old associates and suspicious behavior revealed him. During his trial, Saul presented such a masterful defense that he was on the verge of walking away with only 7 years. He didn't personally commit the crimes of Walter, Gus, or the South. But when he learned that the love of his life, Kim Wexler, had confessed everything, he lost his will to continue. The burden of completely losing the one person who stood by him was too much. For her, he decided to pay the same price. In his final hearing, he confessed everything, personally turning the situation against himself, and took a massive prison sentence. However, Saul Goodman's ending is not as definite as Mike's, Walter's, or Jesse Pinkman's. Who knows? Perhaps Saul will make a move in the future to get Kim Wexler out of prison. Maybe the prison sentence is just a small break, a safe resting place for him. Because for someone so talented, intelligent, and possessing that stubborn Irish grit, the end only comes when he is dead. Alright guys, that's the full breakdown. What do you think about Saul Goodman? Was he justified, or was he just a selfish monster? Drop a comment below and let the Rodi Underworld community know what you think. And if you loved this video, make sure to check out my take on the Devil's Advocate right here. Why the devil was right. Before you click away, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what we uncover next in the underworld. I'm Rodi, this is Rodi Underworld, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.